Greetings, greetings, and hello. This is the Crusader Historian coming to you with another video. And happy May the 4th. Well, technically it's a late video, but this was the video meant for May the 4th. But I had some recording issues. For some reason, the sound was not syncing properly, and it took me a long time to figure it out. And frankly, I did not want to confuse you with giving out 2 videos per one day. I thought it would defeat the purpose. And I took Wednesday as a break. So, yeah, you're getting a May the 4th video. And this is going to be of a great surprise, a great shock, and a lot of you are probably not going to like this, but it is an unpopular idea that Jedi Lords were the true heroes of light. Now, who were the Jedi Lords? Let's talk. It was during the time before the time of the Old Republic, like around 200,000 years ago, from the Clone Wars, the foundation of the Republic, and before that, there was a period called the New Sith Wars. And it was a brutal series of wars. It was a brutal, long war between Sith warlords, the Republic, the Jedi, and various other planets and sectors. It was a time that lasted for several centuries. And around this time, the Republic and the Jedi Order stationed on Coruscant were not doing so hot. They were losing all over the place. Except for a few heroes, they were losing all over the place. It was not good. The Republic was imploding, everything was going bad, and so on and so forth. But all was not lost for the forces of good, because there were some Jedi that took action. And these Jedi gathered together armies, and they took personal quests to rout entire systems, entire planets from Sith influence, and wipe them out and purge all evil from these planets. And they led the defenses, they led the army, and what did these grateful people do? Of these planets do, they asked these Jedi to be their lords, and they became seen as heroes, the last line of defense. And they were celebrated, they asked, and people of these world asked these heroes, these Jedi, to be their leaders, to be their lords. And so these Jedi became barons, dukes, counts, and even kings that hold entire systems, entire sectors, entire planets, and they took the title, took the rank of Jedi Lord. And why were they able to do that? Well, I want to show you this. The standard Jedi Council that we know about only had control about this much. This is only amount of time, only the amount of space the Jedi Order and the Republic had. The Sith was all over the place in this wider galaxy. Okay? And these Jedi Lords were all over the place, like right around here. This is a really very rough estimate, but you see what I mean. These Jedi Lords were on the front line of this constant fight against the forces of evil, the forces of darkness. And they had a sophisticated command structure. They were led by something called the Jedi Grand Council, which was all the Jedi Lords gathered together to discuss things and to work together. So it created a more coherent sense of unity. And more than that, these Jedi Lords had structure in their governance. They had castles and manors as residences, as places of protection. They also had a formal hereditary system. They passed down their titles to their offspring, to their descendants, to their children from generation to generation, raising their children to be loyal defenders of the light, defending what was good. They became beacons of light, good, and hope in a galaxy filled with darkness and evil. And how did the Jedi High Council on Coruscant react to this? Well, they did not like that at all because, well, I am going to be perfectly honest. They were jealous. They were jealous. They were not getting the prestige fighting the Sith. And so, what did they do instead of admitting they were probably wrong? They created their own champion and they focused on this Jedi named Shere Khan. I am not joking. I know his name sounds like the tiger from Jungle Book, but his Khan, this is how his name is. This Star Wars Shere Khan is title is spelled Shere space Kaan. That is different from the Jungle Book one. Well, anyway, they propped him up, raised him, trained him, and, well, I don't know about raised him, but they trained him and conditioned him to be their champion. There is a problem. He heard about this. He was told about this. And he became arrogant. Very arrogant. And the Jedi Order did not pay attention. They, in fact, gave him the rank of Master. And what did this guy do? Well, you see the red lightsaber. He defected and joined the ranks of the Sith. He actually made them stronger. He created a group called the Brotherhood of the Sith, which basically fed the idea that the Sith were all united together. So he made the various feuding Sith Lords work together, essentially, bearing down on the forces of good in a way the forces of good could not withstand them. However, thankfully, the forces of good had a champion called Lord Hoth. He was a respected Jedi Lord, and he was a highly respected member of the Jedi Lord Grand Council, and he said, all right, we have no choice. The Republic is useless. The Sith are gathering together. We need to settle this once and for all. And he convinced the Jedi Lords to pool together all their armies into a single force. All their ships, all their starfighters, all their forces, all their ground armies, all the Jedi Lords pooled everything together for this. What was it? The Army of Light, to launch one desperate action to end this once and for all. And they launched a vicious, decade-long fight called the Rusian Campaign. And it was bloody, and it was merciless without question. In fact, it ended in the entire destruction of the Sith army and heavy casualties for the Army of Light when the Sith, led by Shere Khan, decided to unleash a terrifying dark side power, the Thought Bomb, designed to kill all life on the planet. But this should be seen as a great victory. The Jedi Lords saved the galaxy. But what happened, you ask? Well, their sacrifice was shunted. It was disgusted. This quote tells you what the political rivals of the Jedi Lord did in the aftermath of this costly victory that all but wiped out the Sith army and saved the galaxy and the forces of good from the army of evil. Do you realize the ramifications of what you are asking, Tarsis? Your proposal calls for the Jedi to renounce their military ranks and completely disband all our military, naval, and starfighter forces. You're asking us to destroy the Army of Light. That was from one of the Jedi Lords when they heard what the new Supreme Chancellor of the Republic was saying. And this Supreme Chancellor had the backing of the Standard Jedi Order on Coruscant. What is going to happen to this as a result? Well, I'm going to tell you this. Surviving Jedi Lords and veterans of their army were shunned by the mainstream order and the populace. And who is the architect? This man, Tarsis Valorum, the architect of the Rusian Reformation. And in my personal opinion, the most disgusting man in this history. This is the man who was indirectly responsible for the chaos of the Clone Wars and everything leading up to it, and why the Jedi Order lost, well, if you look at my previous video, lost the blessing of the Goddess of Light because the Jedi Council on Coruscant decided to play politics instead of doing what is right. These are some of the things that he said the Jedi Order were going to change. They would abandon their battle armor, renounce all military ranks, such as the Jedi Lords, basically destroying their entire army. They place themselves under the supervision of the Supreme Chancellor and the Judicial Department. Convenient. They are put under this guy's control, and the control of all Supreme Chancellors right under him. And in order to heighten control, the Order began training children from birth. And what angered me more is the surviving Jedi Lords just lacked the will to say no. I know that if I were a Jedi Lord who survived this, I will say directly in the face of this guy and the Jedi Order on Coruscant, after I read this, I will say, Kreef, no. 1,000 hells of the abyss, Kreef, no. You want us to disband the Army of Light. You want me to renounce my rightful inheritance. You want me to disgustfully condemn the heroic actions of the people who bled and died. You want to spit on their sacrifices. No, absolutely not. I will not renounce my title and surrender my people to you. May I remind you that while you were incompetent, sitting on Coruscant and dying, my family defended these planets and these systems and these sectors to the death. I am a Jedi Lord responsible for my people, just like my father was, and his father before him, all the way back to my great-grandfather's great-great-grandfather, and so on. We liberated the planet from the forces of evil. We protected them. We have more legitimate right to these lands than you. If you want me to renounce my birthright, renounce the promises I made, and renounce my army, and renounce the army of light, and the sacrifices of the Jedi Lord, well, I will not give in. I will fight, and I will call other Jedi Lords coming to join with me in this. If you want us to disband our fleets, if you want us to disband the Jedi Lords, if you want us to disband the army of light, then you'll have to crawl over mountains of the dead bodies of our followers and ourselves and yours. That is what I would do. Now, what would happen? I don't know. It is possible that these Jedi Lords would be wiped out, but there is another possibility that either the Republic will back off and there will be a Cold War between the Army of Light, Jedi Lords, and the Republic, or maybe they would lose. I mean, the Republic and the Jedi Order on Coruscant did not have an army. Oh, I forgot one thing I would also say. I would also point out to them and say, this Sith, this war was your fault. Shere Khan was one of your guys, so do not say you know what to do, because you don't. And let's be honest, the Jedi Lords have a legitimate right to exist. The Jedi Council did not exist. But anyway, back to the original point. Realistically, I don't know if the Jedi Lords will be wiped out. Maybe there's a possibility. The Republic might back off, or a fight would break out and the Jedi Lords will win. I don't know. But should they win and exist, that would be an interesting thing to happen. I see that once the Jedi Lords recover their strength, recover their infrastructure, recover everything, because 1,000 years of constant warfare is going to cause problems. But eventually, they will recover. And what would they do? Well, this would be the era of the new Crusades. The Jedi Lords, I imagine, would launch magnificent crusades across the galaxy, bringing light, good, and just rule to the inhabitants of all across the galaxy. Slavery would be outlawed and cleansed from the galaxy, among with other cruel and evil practices. The Hutt clans would be wiped out. Slavery would not exist, and more Jedi Lords would exist, bringing light to a darkened galaxy. While the Republic stagnates from within. And I think that's where the rule of two Sith, the survivors of the Brotherhood of Darkness, would hide. They would not hide where the Jedi Lords lived. Oh no, because the Jedi Lords will be hunting for them all over the place. Or, well, they won't be hunting for them because they thought the Sith would be gone, but I imagine they would be vigilant watching over their lands. And at first, nothing much probably would happen. Except around the time of the prequel trilogy. Because you see, with slavery not existing, a boy would have a normal life until it is discovered he is strong in the Force. He would be noticed by the Jedi Lord that ruled his territory, probably asked to come in to become training as an apprentice and later become a Jedi Knight. maybe become a Jedi Lord by himself, and then promise that his mother will be cared for. Well, who is that boy? Anakin Skywalker. Well, at the same time, Palpatine, as Sith Lord, becomes Chancellor and tries to think of a plan to seize control of the galaxy. But the Jedi Lords find out, I imagine, that Palpatine is a Sith Lord and Cuba Crusade will be launched on the Republic. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, would lead the attack and kill Palpatine or Darth Sidious in single combat. And then he becomes Jedi Lord of Coruscant, and perhaps, maybe the first Jedi Emperor. Or maybe the first Jedi Lord who is an Emperor. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. I hope you like it. I had a fun time planning this and working on it. Yeah, just to add a continuation between my other video and this video, this is the reason why I feel like the Goddess of Light, this was a moment where the Goddess of Light of the Piastia faith withdrew her protection, because the Jedi Lords bled and sacrificed everything to do what was right. The survivors were discarded, and the Jedi Order on Coruscant seized control. And they bowed to a Supreme Chancellor that basically gave permission to weaken the Republic and the forces of good. Because the Russian Reformation disbanded any forms of an army except for local defensive forces. Why is that a bad idea? Well, basically it put everyone at the mercy of everything. And this was why the Republic was too eager to accept a clone army being grown without a debate. So, yeah. All I know is if I were a Jedi Lord during that time, I would just say to the Chancellor, go away and don't come back. I will not listen to you. Well, anyway, this is my May 4th. May the 4th be with you video, even though it's late. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, God be with you.